Hi, class, and welcome to Management 522. I'm Dr. Marilyn Carroll, and I'm excited about this course in Women in Leadership. There is so much that we're going to discuss or have to discuss about women in leadership. So I'm going to start out. This week we have two chapters we're going to cover. So I'm going to talk about the things that are on your PowerPoint. And so it's just a verbal uh, part of you hearing what I have to say in addition to things I'll say to you as we go through class. So here's the following topics we're going to discuss today are recent realities in history concerning women in leadership, and from concrete wall to the glass ceiling effect, driving forces behind organizational changes, women as corporate officers, women leaders as a driving force, and generations in the workforce, as well as work life integration. So we really know that since in recent history, that most of the decisions in organizations have been made by our male leaders. Well, that was because most of the people at the top were male leaders, and that is still the case today. Women have before men achieve more educational levels or higher educational levels than women. Well, that's not the case today. Today we have more women achieving higher education than we have men in the workforce that's doing it. Um, a leader, let's talk about what a leader really is. A leader is a person who really influences and directs behaviors of others in the decision or in they lead that discussion, excuse me. They influence and direct others' behaviors. So they act as that influencer. And we heard a lot about influencers these days on social media and things of that nature. Well, the team leaders and the managers are different than the leader. That's the manager. But sometimes in this course, we'll use those interchangeably and we'll refer to leaderships in all types. So leadership can be formally or informally conferred and consisting of the following. A leader motivates, they inspire, they persuade, and they exercise authority when needed. So changes in legislation and technology has really brought numerous and significant changes in the status of women in the workplace in the 20th century. So there's been a shift from agricultural to industrial economy, implied that fewer people were needed, or fewer people were on farms or worked in industrial urban areas. And that's true. We work in a technology service related um, area now, where back then it took more physical manpower or strength of a man to do a lot of the things that were going on. And the women were responsible actually for, if you think about it, a little bit of the servicing part. That's the home, that's the kids, that's their entertainment for the family or entertainment when the husband brought someone home. So during the 1960s, our technological process brought greater control over reproduction through the use of the pill for women. So we stopped having as many babies as we had before. But think about it now. We needed those babies back then because of things going on with families needing bigger families to help, control the farm and things of that nature. Well, if you remember the feminism movement back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when once women became and had the opportunity to vote, things started changing. And women started recognizing that they could do more, especially as technology was changing, as the places of business and how things were being done. There was a big change that started happening in the 60s. And so there are some barriers that really, as we went through, started preventing women from really getting the type of jobs or the earnings that they commanded. And people really thought that the man's place was the home. I mean, the man's place was outside the home, bringing in the capital and taking care of the family. So regardless of any kind of lack of significant representation of women at the very best or very highest levels in organizations, some women have made it to the top, and many women have made significant inroads in the lower and middle management positions. However, in the higher positions, we have not seen as many of us there. As a matter of fact, there have based on studies that I've done and some research that I've completed, um, there are very few, 24 women, to be a matter of fact, that are CEO positions out of the Fortune 500 companies. So you think 24 out of 500, that's a very minute scale. When you think about the skill sets that women are more transformative. We transform families. We are the people that's trying to transform or change things um, around so that the family benefits. Not to say that men don't do that, but a big part of what men do is they bring in that income before, and they knew how to use their hands at things they were best at using their hands at. And that's taking care of the mechanical and things of that nature. Well, there are other men who, because of their education, understood things like those that went to college understood more the financial, the banking side, the finance side, the economic side. So men have had this head start on us as far as where they are in the workforce and the things that they accomplish in the workforce. Uh, Due to them having that very much of a head start in front of us. And we as women were not, our mindset wasn't there at that time. And so I think that that has changed things overall. And so now we are seeing various generations that's still in the workforce. Um, we have some 70-year-olds still in the workforce, 60, 50-year-olds. Naturally, we don't really exit the workforce. We're not allowed to exit the workforce for full retirement. Age is 59 and a half early, and depends on what age group you were born in. It may be 65, 67, or I think some now it's maybe even 69. And so those are some of the things that are really changing the dynamics of the various generations that's in the workforce, as well as these are part of these driving forces in organizational change. The various generations in the workforce, work-life integration. Now we're working from home more than we were before and able to do that. And so there's been a huge readjustment period for so many people in the workforce and how we'll go about doing things in that workforce. So this week we're going to cover, like I said, three lectures or information, as you'll see on your PowerPoints and the information you can read over. It's great information to read over the tutorial if you're not into reading the PowerPoint presentations. Each week I'll come to you and give you my overview of things as I see it, and then you'll have the opportunity to take all the other information that you're given and really read it and work through it, and we will talk about it in our coffee and conversation hour on women in the workforce. All right. So, of all the things that I can say to you, even though women have made progress in entering the corporate labor market, much of the progress has been levels or mid-level management positions in American and European companies. The few highly visible women CEOs like Carly Fiona or of the former Packet and Meg Whitman, as well as Andrea Jug and who was the president of Avon, these exceptions in the general unrepresentation of women as corporate officers or leaders at companies. So, and also it may appear that since these women have made it to the top, there is no longer a barrier to women's advancement, but there is. However, the progress of women in the decision-making roles, like board level assignments or senior management roles, have really significantly have kind of gone up more than they were before. We've seen much growth over the last 3 years. I put it like that. At this estimate growth rate, the past 10 years, it will take 40 years for the women to catch up with the men in corporate officers positions. And so we need to take another look and look at things a little differently and see things a little differently. I think it's the biggest things that I see that I write about that are the challenges for women is we need to understand more the finance and not be afraid of working in finance, not be afraid of working in accountants, even though they're 50% of the accountants are women. A number of them don't have the partner positions, and that's because of relationships. When you become partner of anything, it's about building relationships. So the biggest thing that I see on that edge is, or in that particular topic, is we have got to build better relationships, not only with one another, but men as well, that are where the mindset is on business at hand and not those soft things that as women we have traditionally been trained to do. The other thing I would say that is really important from the women's perspective that we have to do is we have to help and uplift each other in ways where we're understanding things a little better. And we got to take the emotion sometimes out of what we're going through as we see things. And I know I was bad about this, it still is to some extent, and I work on it tremendously, but the changes have to be made. Also, we need to see more men represented in politics, and not because of things we don't need to know about what a woman goes through and some of this other stuff that I see on TV. Of late, I think I was watching The View, had a glimpse of the View on Friday, and they were showing coverage where the Senate and the House were debating some things, and the women were talking about the experiences they had gone through. Well, that hits on emotion, and we got to stop that. We got to stay with the facts at hand and not hit on those things. And so that's it for our lesson. I mean, from my perspective on things happening, like I said, politics, finance, accounting, understanding the business, understanding how to own something yourselves. And the big thing is networking, how we network with one another and how we help lift each other up through that networking. And as we spot things that the other can do, that we really work towards those things. So that's it for today. I hope to see you in the discussion post and take care.